Hey, Pursuing Freedom friends. Thanks for tuning in today. If you're new to the show, welcome aboard. And for all of you longtime followers, thank you for your support. I'm really excited to have my friend Tim Kelly on the show today. Tim has a really incredible and inspiring story that I think is going to leave you with some action items. So I would encourage you to tune in fully. And I'm going to share some ideas I have on how you can apply this in your own life and business. But Tim was active duty in the military for 16 years. He used his VA loan back in 2011 to buy his first property, which turned into a house hack and then a flip. And I'll let him share all that. And later, he built his path to financial independence in such a way that he could retire early from the military. And he went on to author a book called Military House Hacking, which, crazy enough, is free on his website, a free download, which I think is really beautiful. And then he developed the platform Active Duty Passive Income to help more military learn about and implement the strategy that has allowed him to become free. And there's so much more that we have to cover today. But with no further ado, Tim, I'll give the floor to you to kind of share the story from your words and how it's got you to where you are today with this national, I don't know, international community that you've got and all this really cool stuff you've been developing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Eric. Thanks again for having me. Been looking forward to this conversation. Yeah, I just simpleton from the suburbs of Chicago. I grew up right outside the city of Chicago in the northwest suburbs, and I ended up joining the Navy when I was 21. I ended up dropping out of college after high school. It just wasn't for me. Didn't really take it seriously, and I was like, I want to do something else. So I had a couple different jobs. Ended up joining the military when I was 21. And kind of want to fast forward. I was just serving, wasn't really kind of doing a whole lot in real estate. Didn't really know real estate investing was like a tool that you could use to create freedom. But I wanted to leverage the VA loan for military, for past and present military members and their families. They can get into a home for 0% down, and that includes a 2, 3, 4 unit where you could house hack, right? You can live in one unit and rent out the others. So I used the VA loan, like Aaron said, in 2011 before I went on a deployment, and 0% down. It turned into a house hack before I, really knew what that was. Rented out one of the bedrooms, and then I went on deployment and kept it rented out. And then it turned into like a live and flip. And then I went on a deployment in 2014, and I always had an interest in just personal finance and building wealth, and how people that created financial freedom and passive income, how they got, were able to attain that. And so that's when I got the real estate investing bug. I just read a bunch of books, saw this pattern. I'm like, I'm going to look more into this whole real estate investing thing. Like, you need to be an agent. Like, what's this all about? So got off that deployment. And in 2015, I just immersed myself in all things real estate investing education, learned how people are able to create wealth and passive income, and what's earned income through flips versus what's passive income through buying and holding assets and collecting rental income. And so I quickly, because I was still active duty at the time, didn't really think it would have made sense. It wasn't really aligned with what I was doing to like buy one house at a time and manage them and just close one door. I'm like, it just seems like a mess, seems like a lot. So then I kind of quickly went straight for the large commercial multifamily asset classes because it's more of like a team thing. If I went on a deployment, maybe the asset manager was able to be there and do that. So that was in 2016. I kind of had that epiphany moment. I want to go for commercial multifamily investing. And then I was in the Norfolk, Virginia Beach area at the time, stationed there. Biggest Navy base in the world is there in Norfolk, Virginia. And I started kind of connecting with brokers and going to the RIA and like talking to other people who were doing commercial multifamily. And then I got orders to a different part of the U.S. I got orders to Pensacola, Florida. And so the minute I got orders, I started connecting with people there, knowing I was going to be there like 6-7 months ahead of time. But I started connecting with people there using online platforms and whatnot, brokers, other investors. So then the minute I got to Pensacola, this was in 2017, that same month, I closed on a fourplex using the 203K FHA loan, which with the intentions of house hacking. And if for those of you who might not be too familiar, you could wrap the cost of rehab into the loan. FHA 203K loan, you could wrap the cost of rehab into the loan. And you only have to put down 3.5% on the total project cost. So essentially, the property, I got an occupied fourplex in Pensacola for 150 grand. and I was able to wrap $100,000 worth of rehab into that. So the project was 250. So I only had to put down like 15, 16 grand. And so I got into that. Rehab kind of went a little longer than 6 months, and I didn't actually move into that. But after I closed that, I was living somewhere else. I was just renting temporarily, got that fourplex fully occupied. A few months later, I closed on a 42-unit apartment complex. I learned all about commercial multifamily, bought an apartment complex with some friends. I leveraged then my VA rehab loan, similar to 203K loan, and bought a triplex, a single family home that I ended up living in with a duplex behind it, rented that out. And I had a property manager in place to take care of at least those 6 units. And then I bought a mobile home community with some friends because I was all about the commercial multifamily investing, but I wanted to take advantage of the house hack concept. So now I'm sitting here and I'm just sharing what I'm doing. And obviously, whoever's listening, if you're documenting your journey and you're sharing what you're doing, you're obviously going to have more opportunities come in your direction. You're going to have more deal flow, more clients. You're going to be seen as the authority. You educate to dominate. I'm sure you already realized that. But because I was doing that, I was able to get on the #1 real estate investing podcast at the time, Bigger Pockets. So I was featured on the Bigger Pockets podcast. I shared my story. One of the people who listened to that was the co-founder of Active Duty Passive Income. Now, we had that phone conversation. He invited me because I was just very passionate about helping other military members and their families learn all about money and real estate. So now, kind of fast forward, now I'm a board of director. I'm a co-owner of Active Duty Passive Income, where it's the premier military real estate investing education community, where we're helping other military members, past and present, and their families create wealth and financial freedom through owning more of America, the land that they sort of protect. And so I ended up getting out at 15 and a half years because I was focused on commercial multifamily, building ADPI, Active Duty Passive Income community. We had hundreds of people go through our academies and masterminds. We have that best-selling book, Military House Hack. We have a #1 rated podcast and meetups around the world and a conference every year. So I got out and just really leaned into the investing and the education. I'm also a certified high performance coach, and I love one-on-one coaching. So that's kind of a little bit about where I got today. Now I'm residing in just north of Tampa, Florida. Currently in Charlotte, where my girl's family is living. We're visiting her family in Charlotte, but I reside just north of Tampa, Florida at this time. So,
No, I love it. And there's so much I want to dig our teeth into. I mean, first of all, thank you for your service. It's such an incredible thing to sacrifice yourself, your time, your life to serve and protect our country. So I want to just acknowledge that and thank you. And I also think it's really interesting to be a witness to how you've sort of leaned into the evolution of forward motion. So many people in our world, in our country, get stuck on, well, this is what I decided to do when I was whatever age, and it's going fine. So why am I feeling called to something different? And they resist that call. And what I've found in my own personal journey and with so many that we've had on the show here is that if you're willing to heed the call of curiosity, and like you said, you said that you were a voracious learner, you were reading every book, immersing yourself in the learning of this thing that was sparking interest for you. And now it's evolved to where you are the host of a podcast, the owner of Active Duty Passive Income, author, coach, mentor, and authority, like you said. And it's all because you were willing to heed the call. So I think it's important to acknowledge that, because so many times we have this itch and we're not willing to scratch it because it doesn't feel realistic or responsible, or we can't connect all the dots looking forward. But when I think back to when you probably bought that first property in 2011, I don't think you had it all figured out that in 2024, you'd be standing here with this story to tell. So I think kudos to you for doing that and for sort of moving forward in the direction of what feels like a hell yes, right? I also really appreciate that you talk about this passion you have for helping others, because we talk on the show a lot about what does it look like to run a purpose-driven business that fuels a purpose-driven life? And it comes from finding something that feels like a yes to contribute, to chase the contribution, to be of value to others. And in doing so, it seems like the doors just open and the path begins to unfold. So one of my questions for you is, what does it look like now from a perspective of helping more active and retired military find this content, and then what does it look like to see them execute and implement, and specifically in today's real estate investing climate? I mean, how has it evolved, the climate that we're in now being so different to the climate that we were in when you started the journey, and what are you seeing now with your coaching community, or the people that you're trying to help?
Man, that's a great question. And it really is all about having that curiosity and then acting on it, right? It's one thing to be able to just like recognize that other people have this desire, and then like mapping out every single thing that and that work for you, and just putting it out there. It's definitely just an honor to see people go through a framework that you laid out based on your experience and actually find success and change their financial trajectory. That's the whole mission behind ADPI, is to help 3 million military families this decade change their financial trajectory and accomplish some kind of financial freedom. And so we know we're doing that through just expressing them, and just like giving our military house hacking book away, for free, is just like we're able to see the people who are willing to download a free resource to learn and then to take action. It's like, all right, they're actually serious. Now they're entering into our free Facebook. We have like 80,000 members in our Facebook group of just military and family members, past military, current military, and family. And so then you see them engaged, right? And then even the people who turn around and say, okay, I want more. I know I need to invest in myself and learn. And that's actually something that we found to be a challenge, is that there are a lot of military members who are used to getting like big discounts or stuff for free, right? So it's like, it's been hard to get people to the mindset of investing in yourself is going to get you to the next level quicker, unless you want to go through YouTube University or go through a black hole of information online and try to figure it out. But it's awesome to see that there are a ton of military members, and past and present, who are willing to invest in themselves. Some of them are active duty, who are literally in a deployable status. I just had a conversation yesterday with a member who is active duty, first lieutenant in the Army, stationed in South Korea. He just signed up to go through a cohort program to learn about commercial and multifamily investing, like a 13-week program that puts him through an accelerated version of our military multifamily academy. And his time zone, like, it's normally the calls are 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but this dude, it's the next morning at 9 a.m. and he's going to somehow make it work. Like, he's going to show up to those calls. He's got like a newborn at home. And like, you see these people are sacrificing so much just to create wealth and financial freedom in their lives and create more options. But there's a lot of lessons learned there. We want to give them like so much, and this goes for any kind of education we've learned. Like, the amount of people who go and purchase education, only like less than 20% of them will actually go through that education and learn it, like online education, learn it. And out of that, maybe 20% of those people will actually do the action steps and go pursue it and create some kind of success. So like, we're always beating, our head on the table. Like, how can we get a higher success rate, a higher retention rate? And we're still navigating that, frankly, because you can only do so much of, leading the horse to water. You can't force them to drink. You can't force them to apply what they're learning. You can only hold their hand so much, and then it's like they got to take the action. So, and with military folks, it's like there's some people who are just so ambitious, so after it, but some of them still just want to have their hands held. So I don't know if I'm really like making a point here or answering your question, but I'm kind of just like, recently I'm kind of seeing some patterns of what separates those who like join and are able to find success versus those who join and struggle. And what separates them is they just literally go through the education. We have very clear action steps laid out. They do the action steps. They like show up to the live calls and like put the work in, and they just do what they remain coachable, like, essentially.
Well, I know exactly what you mean because my biggest fear is that someone's going to spend their money and not get the results, because I'll do anything to help them get the results that they've invested in themselves to get. But you're right. I'm even guilty of it myself, of signing up for an online course, for example, and then not making it to the finish line. And I think we all have different learning styles too. And some people really need that hand holding and, accountability, and others are more self-directed. But I mean, I can relate to that completely. So one of my questions I have for you, this is kind of going a little bit off topic, but when you were in the military and you were relocating, what was that like for you? And is there anything that you learned in the experience of being new to a town in regards to having resources and having people supporting you? Because one of the things we talk a lot about inside of Pursuing Freedom and the book and the strategies that I teach is that as a real estate professional, the goal is to be of value above and beyond what you get paid to do. It's the go-giver philosophy. And in order to do that, you need to have resources to serve all of the needs of your clients. And the real estate transaction is simply one brushstroke in the painting. So I teach people that they should be actively looking to have a tribe of trusted local service providers to be a resource for every need. And that from a perspective of military relocation is an incredible point, is that someone is new to town and perhaps one of their first phone calls might be to a realtor to help them buy a home. But then what happens after they close? They need referrals for all kinds of resources. So I'm curious, like, to hear it from you, from the horse's mouth, of what was it like for you to be relocating to these new places, and was there any support that you had in place to ease that transition for you?
I'm just thinking back to when I got orders to Pensacola, Florida, when I was stationed in the Virginia Beach area. I was like brand new to the commercial real estate investing world, but I was learning enough, and I kind of was able to speak the language enough to, as soon as I got orders, I just started connecting with people. I leveraged the Bigger Pockets platform to find people who were in that area now. Like that, if especially for the military members and their families, if they're PCSing, permanent change of station, they just go into our community. They go into our what's called ADPI campus in our community, and just say, hey, I just got orders here. I need an agent or a lender, or I need some support, potential property managers. That it's that easy. It's just kind of being proactive. And for me, just like owning who you are and what you do, and making sure that people in that city where you're about to head to kind of are understand like who you are and what you do. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got in success, and I think in real estate and really any industry, it's a little bit about what you know. It's more about who you know, but it's most about who knows you. And if you're not able to like promote who you are, what you do, and like very clearly, this is what I'm looking for, and this is how I could add value. If you could just get really clear on that, people look at you completely different, and they take you seriously. They'll treat you like you know what the heck you're talking about, and especially when you're like working with brokers and stuff on the commercial space for your first deal, you could talk the talk and you could speak the language, and then very clearly articulate, I'm looking for a deal with this many units in this neighborhood. This is why I like this market. I want this value add. Being very clear about your criteria, your deal criteria, or your buy box. Then brokers are going to take you seriously. They have so many tire kickers. So just separating yourself by getting very, very clear and breaking it down into an art, what's called an elevator pitch, not like a sales pitch, but like just being able to articulate who you are, what you do, like how you can add value and what you're looking for. And I think if you could do that, then you just find all the movers and shakers in that industry in that specific location. And luckily, we have this awesome setup in ADPI, and we are directing our community towards agents and lenders through a platform called Service Rank. So if a military member is relocating to even San Diego, from East Coast to West Coast, let's say they're stationed in Virginia Beach and they're going to San Diego, they literally just put San Diego, California, and they'll have a whole list of agents and lenders that are there. and they're actually ranked based on service, based on how long they've been with us, and through their interview process, they get ranked. We're always looking for agents and lenders to add to service rank who have a desire to help service members, especially if they're military affiliated, and especially if they understand the investing, not just helping somebody buy a home. Of course, there's a lot of military members who are just trying to use their VA loan and buy a home.
Okay, so a couple of things that I want to touch upon here for takeaways for the listeners. If you are a listener that's an agent or lender, I would encourage you, if you feel aligned to serve our military, then I would connect with Tim and I'll have him share how to do that so that you can get added to their list, their service rank, where if someone's looking in your geographic region, you can be there as one of the listed resources. But more than that, you can even take this one step further. Tim talked about the 203K FHA loan where he bought a fourplex for 150,000, and then there was 100,000 in rehab costs, and then he was able to put renters in that and have it cash flow. He talked about being a voracious learner, right? And the question is, how much time are you spending learning how to level up your value and how to be a resource to people? Because if you've never heard of that program, for example, then it cannot be a solution that's in your tool belt for your clients, right? And if we're not having conversations with our clients about the potential for building wealth through real estate investing, then we're just another transaction. We're just another real estate agent or an interest rate. And so if we want to build authority, like Tim alluded to, and build a brand that people are coming to you as a resource and trusting you and asking for advice, you've got to be developing this message, this communication around what it looks like to actually go beyond the transaction, to go beyond the closing, and to actually change lives. And so what I would encourage people to do is think about, who do you know already that's active and retired military that should know about this platform, active duty passive income? Are you having conversations with them about their financial goals? Are you suggesting that there's resources out there that can teach them about how to build wealth through real estate investing? And then beyond that, go to the rest of the people you know. Do they know anybody? Because this is so exciting and inspiring. And imagine how the conversation changes when you have this idea that is really, really cool and you can't help yourself but become unleashed and sharing it with others. Now, what happens is you find yourself on the phone, you find yourself engaged, you're talking about different things that are exciting, and you're showing up like a lighthouse in the storm rather than digging deep to muster up the courage to pick up the phone and make sales calls so that you can ask for referrals. Like, wah, wah, right? I mean, it's two different directions, two different paths to the same destination, which is to build authority, to be a resource, and to see your business grow as a sheer byproduct of the contribution you're chasing out there in the world. So, Tim, I love what you've got going on here. I love the fact that the Military House Hacking book is free to download. How cool is that? There's so much here that listeners can take and apply to their day-to-day conversations with their target market, and also find themselves hopefully listed if they feel inspired to do so. What's the best way for them to learn about you, get in touch with you, follow you, support you, all the things? Because I love what you're doing here.
I appreciate that. And just social networks at the Timothy Kelly. That's Instagram at the Timothy Kelly, and LinkedIn, Facebook / the Timothy Kelly. I mean, there's a lot of Tim Kellys on Facebook, but I'm Tim Kelly. But you can find me at the Timothy Kelly. And then my website is thetimothykelly.com. Of course, if any of this resonated with you and you just want to chat, I'd love to put you in touch with anybody in my network. I have a huge, very resourceful network. And if you just want to get on a phone call, just shoot me a text. I'll give you my personal cell phone number. Just shoot me a text and we'll hop on a call and I'll add value in any way that I can. You could reach me at 847-910-9161. Just let me know you heard me on Aaron's podcast, and we'll just set up a call. And like I said, I'll do everything I can to help support you.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you for all of this, Tim, not only for your service to our country, but this contribution that you're creating in the world, the value that you're bringing, the life that you've created as an example for others is incredibly inspiring. And I just love having people on the show that can help us think outside the box. And I think we all get caught up in our day-to-day and the myopic view of just needing the next thing that we're feeling so desperate for ourselves in our own life. And when we can get ourselves out of that need-based energy and into contribution, then all of a sudden it seems like the world opens up and that creativity starts to flow and new ideas and new connections and new relationships. And that's what we're here to do, is be in the relationship business and find ways to be of service to others. So Thank you so much, Tim. I appreciate you taking the time to share this story and all you're doing.
Not a problem. Thank you so much, Aaron, for what you're doing, inspiring people, and for all the listeners, thank you for showing up. Thank you for just getting after it. You're separating yourself from so many people. Just having that desire to learn. So take action on what Aaron's teaching you and change your life. And like I said, I'm here to support you. Just shoot me a text and we'll get on a call.
And to all my listeners out there, like I said, if you're new, thanks for being here. Thanks to all my loyal supporters who have been listening for a long time. If you haven't left a 5-star review wherever you're consuming this, please take a moment to do so, because it helps us continue to attract amazing guests like Tim and help this content get found on your journey to building a life you don't need a vacation from. I love you. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.